Good morning, everybody. It's Chris here from Serene Education with the 4 Majors Analysis Update for the 17th of June, Friday the 17th of June. I'm just going to be looking at our CTC strategy template, the 4 majors, starting with Euro against US dollar. Let's have a look at the daily time frame. You notice yesterday we had an up candle, a hammer, primarily as price was making its way down to the previous swing. Here at the 1405 mark, we've seen price now starting to hesitate. A lot of people who were in short the prior day had started to scalp some positions of the table, and since we saw a nice upside movement. However, during the Asian market trading, we've seen an open and price continue to the downside. If you look at the trend, the overall trend, you can see from the up, as we're still in a positive uptrend for this pair. And we've broken lower, and now the next major support and resistance is roughly around the 1405 mark. Notice resistance and support and further support in that area, and you can see price now failing to break higher, and now it's pushing off. So we have a breakout, pullback, and hopefully a continuation setting up here for this pair. We have lower swings for this time frame. You can see the major bearish move that we saw 2 days prior has formed a low swing, and that was a high, and you can see that was the all-time high. So the swings are getting lower, confirming that momentum now is to the downside, and likely our next target would be roughly around the 1405 mark for this time frame. So in today, let's have a look. The 4 hour, you can see coming off the highs, head and shoulders, you can see that the momentum is starting to drop, lower swings. We've had a pullback, and if you took the high to that pullback area, you'll notice that we've seen a pullback on the 100% fib mark that we saw yesterday. So consolidation taking place at the 100% fib mark on the 4 hour time frame, and during the Asian market session we've seen price rally, and then we had an indecision followed by a decision candle to the downside, an evening star pattern, and then we are now back down to just prior to the areas that we saw the bounce occurring yesterday, and this is all happening close to the 1405 mark because you've had prior support and resistance in this area, and quite a strong one. So 1405 we know is a long-term support area, and as price is making its way lower, you can see that hesitation is starting to creep into the market now as we get close to that level. So as it stands now, this is a genuine pullback, and then we should be looking for continuation down here, and this is the first part, so we should see another extension of that length further lower to the downside for this pair. CTC is in our favor. However, we want to be looking for a sensible entry level, and if you can see that we would rather see a break and close lower than the 100% to be looking for further downside movement. Even then, we've got that 1405, which is a strong resistance level long term on a daily, just below us. So are we going to see further consolidation for this Friday? It remains to be seen. Hourly chart, you can see price was unable to break above the 50-period moving average, and in so doing finding resistance and falling over. So Asian market yesterday, doing from the US session onwards, we saw price rallying against the US dollar, and then coming unstuck the moment hit the 50-period moving average, and we've seen price fall to the downside, and in doing so trading below the price swing. So are we going to see hesitation here, pullback, and a continuation as we make our way down to the 1405 mark, which is our long-term support on a daily setup. So CTC is in our favor. Notice the swing lows, trading below all the moving averages. So this on the hourly confirms that we are in a negative trend. The same goes for the 30 minutes. However, you can see that we're in a consolidation band. 1420 is the upside resistance, and 1405 is the major long-term support area. So you can see that price action is starting to slow down. You can see that the momentum compared to here, very strong momentum, is very gradual to the side. And now we've seen a bounce higher, and during the Asian market trading we've had a break lower, and we're now testing the previous areas of support and resistance to the downside on this time frame, the 30 minute. So ideally we need to be below this area here. So the close of this candle here at 14.13.30, we would like to see a close below that before we see even an attempt at the 14.05 mark to the downside. Next one is cable, sterling against US dollar. So look at the daily here again, like the euro, slowly making its way down to and testing a prior support area just above the 14. This is the 16.11, 16.1200 mark. You can see price lower swings dictating trend direction for this time frame. Here, for example, bearish, bullish engulfing, indecision, shooting star formation, low end, indecision, long wick to the upside at a resistance level, bang, and the price has fallen lower. You'll notice if I scroll right out, you can see that price is or has broken through that major downtrend or uptrend, apologies, and now testing the swing, the next target of the swing to the left that we saw in the mid part of May of this year, and a break below that would see this pair going towards the 1600, which is our long-term support and resistance. We had a lot of support and resistance on this for over a period of a couple of months, early back of this year. You can see right through the early part of January, then a breakup going into February, then a support in February, support in March, and a support again in March, the later part of March, before we see a break, saw it trading higher. So the 200 period moving average and the 1600 would definitely be our next target if we see a breach below the current support area that we're trading at 16,1200. We go to our 30-minute chart. You can see that the CTC is well extended in our favor. You can see that price is trading below all the moving averages, and you're getting lower swings. But be aware though, we've had a pullback. The consolidation range is just broken below that. You see it now. What we like to see now in this case is the CTC is all in our favor, the moving average all above us, confirming that trend is still negative. We want to see this breach, pullback, and then a continuation. If this continues to the upside, then we're seeing a swing which is higher than the previous ones. So we can see that the first bounce, second bounce is higher. If we see it bouncing up here, then we can see that price is changing, the sentiment is changing in the market now, and we likely see further upside movement. Ideally, we would like to be trading above this very strong support and resistance level here at 1700. A break above that, then we're definitely looking for further upside movement. You could look at possible targets here at 16,2300 and way back up to the 200 pair moving average. We've seen some further support and resistance roughly around the 1628.50 mark, and further upside to the upside. So you can see that a breach or break higher than 1610 would definitely see further extensions higher. A failure at this level here and a break below 1609 would definitely see further extensions, and we could look at the 1600 mark as our major target for the time being. Next pair is the US dollar against Swiss franc. We've seen the US dollar gain a bit of strength against the Swiss franc in as many weeks, and we've seen price testing prior support and resistance levels to the upside. Notice that we're still very much in a negative trend. You can see the major trend is to the downside, a lot of resistance above us, and we've come unstuck there at the first. After hitting the 20 period moving average, we've seen almost a hesitation at this level. However, on the Asian market trading, we've seen it starting to bottom out over here. If I look at where price is trading in the past, you'll notice that we had a small pause, and we're in this pause range on this time frame. So the low end, obviously we're going to see price continue to the downside because it's failed to close high during the Asian market session, and we're trading a mix at the moment now, half. So ideally we'd like to see a close lower than the low of the previous candle, yesterday's candle. So an open and close lower than 84.74 could confirm that we're seeing a failure, and this was just a primarily pullback in the downtrend. So that was where it started in the price, and we've had a failure at the 38.2 fib area, 20 period, and we could see a continuation to the downside occurring if we see a open and closed lower than yesterday's candle. It's got to rally. If we to see further extensions higher, then you've got to see a bullish engulfing pattern on this pair. But with the 20 period moving average, and for 2 consecutive days now, it's failed to rally higher than the highs that we've seen here at 85.43. So 85.43 intraday. We just put that in. 43 mark. There we go. You can see it's the highs, previous highs. We've seen price actually pull back from those levels. We saw a bit of divergence on this, and it set us up for a squeeze pattern, and we saw a potential trade to the downside. Notice, however, that we are seeing a bit of consolidation around a particular area here at the 84.80 mark. There's been support in the past again, and once again we saw a breakout, but we've seen it actually rally during the Asian market session, and it's now sitting above that level again. So ideally we want to be trading below that to confirm that there's going to be further downside movement. A failure to do that would obviously see this continue in its consolidation band. You'll notice that the highs, though, however, are slightly lower. If you want to go that way, it's more of a squeeze pattern or consolidation in this area. So you could box that, take the multiple touches, and then just wait for something to happen. You know, the CTC is still in our favor though. So if we look at the extension on this to the upside, so ideally if we took that range, you'll notice that the fib extension, we're now had a bounce at the 38.2 fib. If we can stay above 38.2 fib, then we could see a possible continuation to the upside and a reattempt of the highs that we saw here at the 85.50 mark. If we see a break below the 84.80, then we could expect further downside movement. By then it'll be forming lower swings, and the direction is clearly to the downside. Remember that this pair is in a major downtrend. This is just a consolidation in an uptrend. It will have to break the previous high here at 85.50 to still be classified as bullish. And the last pair of the day is US dollar against Japanese yen. Let's look at the daily time frame. Here again we saw a bounce, a previous support area at the 80 mark, and push higher. The US dollar gaining strength against the Japanese yen in as many days, and then we've seen a failure. Yesterday we saw price failing to trading higher than the particular on this bullish candle on the bounce, and we saw retracement of that. And the Asian market trading going into the European session this morning, we've seen indecision propping into the pair. We can see the prices trading open and close are relatively smack together, and this is confirming a decision first thing in the morning. So ideally if this is to remain positive, then obviously we're going to see a further bounce higher. A failure to do that, then obviously we can see a breach to the downside, and you can see that price direction at the moment now, the swing low, and we have another one here. The failure at this level here is dictating that we could see a possible continuation lower, reattempt of the 80s. Remember that this pair here is in a consolidation downtrend, bar the fake outs that we've seen here. This is the intervention that we saw earlier in mid-March. That's the intervention, but you can see price direction is to the downside, even though it is in a consolidation band, and the 200 period moving average is still above us. So you can see that price has come from a very long period and then kind of gone sideways, but the highs have got lower as we've progressed. So we can see it's been squeezed, and at this time over here you can see that price has failed. Are we going to see further downside movement occurring for this pair? Only time will tell, but you can see if we don't see a price closing higher than this pullback, then we could be seeing a potential swing low forming. So if we go intraday, if you look at the 4-hour chart, you can see that price has failed to materialize after a breach of the 200 period moving average, and in doing so you can see the lower swings on this pair, the setup. So we know that we're looking further downside. However, if you look, you can see that the US dollar bounced higher for this pair. Now we're sitting at a crossroads. Price is testing this upswing on the intermediate, and if we see a breach of that, then obviously we can see continuation lower. CTC has given us a red arrow signal, but we haven't got red candles, and CT hasn't gone red on either side, so we've got to wait for that to occur before we even think about trading or looking for potential shorting opportunities. You notice on the 30-minute period, you can see the price has just been moving sideways. There's a definite resistance level and now a strong support level at the 200 period moving average. I'm just going to put that in so you guys can see it. A definite support area on this time frame. So if we see a bounce to the upside, you can notice that we do have swing highs prior to that. So are we going to see a bounce higher for the US dollar gaining strength? This is the uptrend, swing high, swing high, swing high, and price has been consolidating around this area here. A lot of wicks at the downside, hammers. Are we going to see a bounce higher here? CTC is showing us negativity, but it's something we should see. We're in a consolidation band, swing lows. We're looking for potentially a bounce higher here. A failure to bounce higher and take us through this would definitely show us that this uptrend is now null and void, and we should be looking for shorting. But as long as it's trading above the 80.55 in this case, we could see a potential bounce higher occurring for this pair. So keep that in mind, and look for potential breakouts to the upside occurring today. If we don't see one, then we could see price just consolidating at the 8.55 mark before we see a breach to the downside. That's it for this week. Hope you had a fantastic trading week. It's Friday today. Hope you have a fantastic weekend with friends and family. If you are trading today, make sure that you are following the rules of the CTC strategy. Make sure everything's in your favor prior to actually accessing that trade, and make sure that your money management is in place prior to trading at all times. And all that remains to say is I hope you have a fantastic day and trade serenely.